All right, everyone, get ready for a deep dive. We're going all in on UFOs today.
Yeah.
Unidentified flying objects. That is.
You know it.
Yeah, we've gotten a ton of requests about this one. People are really curious.
For sure.
Yeah, and they're sending in all kinds of stuff too. Historical accounts, government documents. I even saw some pop culture stuff mixed in there.
I mean, it's everywhere these days.
Exactly. It's clear you guys want the full of L story on UFOs, so we're going to go for it.
Absolutely.
We'll hit all the major points. Famous sightings, those mysterious government investigations, even how UFOs have taken over pop culture.
Oh, and we can't forget what scientists are saying about all of this. There are some really interesting theories out there.
We'll get to all of that.
Okay.
But to really kick things off, we need to rewind the clock all the way back to 1947.
Ah, yes, the beginning.
Yep, with a pilot named Kenneth Arnold. He's flying near Mount Rainier, and suddenly
Right.
he sees nine objects zipping around at speeds that just seemed impossible back then.
And not just speed. People always forget about the weird maneuvers these things were pulling off.
True. He said they were moving like saucers skipping on water. And that, my friends, is how the whole flying saucer craze got started.
It's crazy how one event can kickstart something so huge.
Oh, talk about a chain reaction. But this wasn't just a thing for everyday people. The government got pretty interested too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Especially back then in the middle of the Cold War.
Right. Any little blip on the radar could have been a threat.
Exactly. That's why they launched Project Blue Book. It ran for almost 20 years, from 52 to 69. The Air Force was busy analyzing thousands upon thousands of UFO reports.
Thousands. Wow. So what was the final verdict after all that investigating?
Well, they did manage to explain away most of the sightings. You know, stuff like misidentified aircraft, weather balloons, even a few hoaxes thrown in there.
I can imagine.
But here's the thing, they couldn't solve everything. There was this small percentage of cases that remained totally unexplained, like the Lubbock Lights.
Oh, I've heard about that one. Wasn't it in Texas?
Yep, 1951. You had all these witnesses, even experienced pilots, watching this formation of lights flying super fast over Lubbock. Even after the Air Force investigated, the case is still unsolved. Can you believe that?
That's wild.
Yeah.
So even with all their resources, Project Blue Book couldn't crack every case.
Yeah.
It's no wonder people are still so curious about this stuff.
No kidding. And it's important to note that the U.S. wasn't the only one looking into UFOs.
Really? Who else is on the case?
A whole bunch of countries, actually. France, Chile, even the UK. They all had their own investigations going on.
Huh. So this was a global thing then?
Oh, yeah. And while some of them got hit with those cover-up accusations,
Yeah, right.
the data they collected is super valuable. It gives us this broader view, you know,
Well,
like how often these sightings were happening, where they were happening, and any patterns that might emerging.
It's like piecing together a giant puzzle.
Yeah.
So we've got all these sightings, the government's digging around. You'd think scientists would be all over this, right?
Well, it's a bit more complicated than that.
How so?
See, the scientific community, their response to UFOs has been, well, it's been a mixed bag, to say the least. A lot of scientists, they're all about that hard evidence.
Which makes sense. It's kind of their thing.
It is. And that's the big problem. A lot of these UFO sightings, they rely on eyewitness accounts, you know? Or blurry photos and shaky videos.
Stuff that's hard to really prove.
Exactly. So that lack of rock-solid evidence, it creates this big hurdle for scientists.
I bet. I mean, they want to be able to measure and test things.
Right. And with UFOs, that's not always easy. So because of that, you've got this whole spectrum of opinions in the scientific community. You've got the skeptics will tell you it's all misidentified objects, natural phenomena, that sort of thing.
Makes sense. They're looking for the most logical explanation.
Exactly. They'll say extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. And so far, that evidence just hasn't shown up yet.
Okay, I see their point. But are there any scientists who are taking UFO sightings seriously?
Oh, absolutely. There's a whole bunch of them who are really pushing for rigorous, evidence-based research into UFOs.
Good for them.
They're the ones looking at the huge number of credible reports. We're talking pilots, military folks, even astronauts.
Wait, hold up. Even astronauts have seen weird stuff.
It happens. And these scientists, they also point to all the advancements in technology, like high-resolution cameras, advanced radar that can track objects moving insanely fast, and even spectroscopy.
Spectroscopy? What's that?
It's a fancy way of analyzing light. They can use it to figure out what these unidentified objects are made of just by looking at the light they emit. Pretty cool, right?
That's seriously impressive.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're getting better and better at investigating UFOs as technology keeps improving.
Oh, for sure. The tools we have today, they blow the older stuff out of the water. We can gather more data, analyze it more thoroughly, and hopefully get closer to actually figuring out what we're dealing with.
It feels like we're on the brink of something big here.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the tech, it's about changing the way we think about UFOs.
What do you mean?
For decades, UFOs have been kind of this taboo subject, right? People thought you were crazy if you took them seriously.
You were basically labeled a conspiracy theorist.
Exactly. But things are changing. People are more open to the idea that maybe, just maybe, there's something more to all of this.
I've noticed that too. It feels like it's becoming more okay to talk about UFOs without getting weird looks.
You got it. And we're seeing this new wave of scientists, journalists, even government officials who are willing to approach the topic seriously. They're not afraid to ask the tough questions.
And that openness is leading to new possibilities. It's a fascinating time to be following all of this.
You can say that again.
Yeah.
All right, now that we've set the stage, let's dive into the main contenders. What could these UFOs actually be? What are the theories?
Yeah, let's get into that. All right, let's get down to business. We've got all these unexplained events, these strange sightings.
And people want answers.
They do. So let's talk theories. What could these UFOs actually be?
Well, you've got your two main camps, right? You've got the extraterrestrial hypothesis, and then you've got the advanced technology hypothesis.
Okay, so aliens versus something else.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's tackle the alien theory first, the extraterrestrial hypothesis. Why do some people believe these UFOs could be extraterrestrial?
I'm curious.
Well, think about the sheer number of sightings we have. It's not just a handful of isolated incidents. We're talking thousands of reports from all corners of the globe.
It is a lot.
And the descriptions, they vary wildly. Different shapes, different sizes. These objects are supposedly pulling off maneuvers that our current technology just can't handle.
You mentioned capabilities earlier. What kind of things are we talking about here?
We're talking about things that would make even the most advanced fighter jet look like a toy plane. Imagine objects that can accelerate at mind-boggling speeds, make instant right-angle turns, even disappear and reappear out of thin air.
Sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Right. Some witnesses even report seeing these UFOs emit these strange lights or pulses of energy. And there are reports of electromagnetic interference, like their electronics going haywire when these things are nearby.
It's pretty hard to explain that away as just some normal aircraft.
Exactly. And that's the core argument for the extraterrestrial hypothesis. If it's not technology we can understand, maybe it's technology from somewhere else, somewhere beyond Earth.
It makes you think, huh? But what about that other theory, the advanced technology hypothesis? What's the evidence there?
All right, so the folks who lean toward this one, they often point out that a lot of these UFO sightings happen near military bases or during military exercises.
Interesting.
Right, so their thinking goes, maybe these aren't alien spacecraft at all. Maybe they're super secret government projects.
Like top secret aircraft or experimental drones that the public just isn't aware of?
Exactly. Governments have a history of keeping things under wraps, especially when it comes to military tech.
I mean, look at stealth technology. That stuff was completely secret for years before it became public.
Right, so it's not a stretch to think that there could be even more advanced technologies being developed and tested in total secrecy.
That could definitely explain some of the more bizarre sightings.
Possibly. And that's the beauty of this whole thing. We have these two competing theories, both with some pretty compelling arguments.
It's like a real-life mystery novel.
It is. And speaking of stories, we can't talk about UFOs without mentioning their impact on pop culture.
Pop culture has definitely run wild with the whole UFO thing.
Oh, absolutely. Think about all the classic movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T. Those films really captured the public imagination.
They totally did. And it's not just the classics. We've got more recent films like Arrival and Interstellar. UFOs and alien contact are still a huge theme in movies today.
It's a theme that seems to resonate with people on a deep level.
I think it's the mystery of it all. The possibility that we might not be alone in this vast universe. It really makes you question everything you thought you knew.
It does. And it forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge. We're constantly trying to make sense of the world, but UFOs, they throw a wrench in the works. They don't fit neatly into our existing categories.
They make us rethink our place in the cosmos.
Precisely. And it's not just movies either. You've got books, TV shows, even video games, all exploring this theme. UFOs have become this cultural phenomenon, blending science fiction, conspiracy theories, and this deep fascination with the unknown.
I guess it speaks to our natural curiosity. The more we learn about the universe, the more we realize how much we don't know.
And with those unanswered questions comes a sense of wonder and possibility.
Okay, so we've explored the theories, we've talked about pop culture, but the big question remains. Are we any closer to solving the mystery of UFOs?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We may not have definitive answers yet, but the conversation around UFOs is definitely evolving.
How so?
Well, for starters, it's no longer taboo to talk about UFOs. We're moving away from this dismissive attitude and towards a more serious, scientific approach.
I think that's a good thing. We should be able to have open and honest conversations about this stuff without fear of ridicule.
Absolutely. And we're seeing more credible witnesses come forward, people who are willing to share their experiences, even if it means risking their reputations.
You mentioned earlier that even some astronauts have reported seeing strange things.
It's true. And it's not just anecdotal evidence anymore. With all the advancements in technology, we have better tools than ever before to analyze potential UFO sightings. High-resolution cameras, advanced radar, all sorts of stuff.
It feels like we're at a turning point, a point where science fiction and reality are starting to blur together.
I think you're right. There's this growing sense that we might be on the verge of some major breakthroughs in our understanding of UFOs. But you know what? I think there's an even more fundamental question we need to ask ourselves, something that goes beyond the nuts and bolts of UFO technology.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the question?
We've been so focused on the what of UFOs, you know? What are they? Where do they come from? What are their intentions? But maybe, just maybe, the more important question is why? Why are we so fascinated by this topic in the first place? What is it about UFOs that continues to grip our collective imagination after all these years?
That's a great question. Why are we so obsessed with UFOs? It's not like we don't have other mysteries to solve here on Earth.
I know, right? We've got unsolved mysteries about our own history, about how our brains work, even about the deep ocean. But UFOs, they seem to hold this special place in our minds.
Maybe it's that age-old question, are we alone in the universe?
Yeah.
The thought that there might be other intelligent life out there, it's a pretty powerful concept.
It is. It forces us to think beyond ourselves, beyond our little corner of the galaxy. It challenges everything we think we know about our place in the cosmos.
And let's be honest, there's a part of us that kind of wants to believe in aliens, right?
Yeah.
It's like this thrilling possibility, this idea that something truly extraordinary might be out there.
Oh, for sure. It's the ultimate unknown. It taps into our sense of wonder, our desire to explore, to break the boundaries of what we understand.
It's like UFOs are this blank canvas that we can project all sorts of hopes and fears onto.
Exactly. We try to make sense of them through our own limited perspectives, through our cultural narratives, even through our own anxieties about the future.
But what if we're getting it all wrong? What if our need to categorize and explain everything is actually preventing us from truly understanding what UFOs are?
It's a humbling thought, isn't it, to think that we might be missing the bigger picture because we're so stuck in our own ways of thinking.
It is. But it's also exciting, right? To realize that there's still so much out there that we don't know so much that we haven't even begun to imagine.
Exactly. It's a reminder that the universe is full of mysteries and possibilities, things that we can't explain with our current knowledge. That's what makes it so fascinating.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of UFOs, what's the one thing you'd want our listeners to take away from all of this?
Keep an open mind. Don't be afraid to question things, even the things that seem settled and certain, and never lose that sense of curiosity, because that's what drives us to explore, to discover, to learn.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground today, from those early sightings all the way to the latest scientific theories. And one thing's for sure, the mystery of UFOs continues to captivate us.
And that's the beauty of it, right? It keeps us looking up. It keeps us wondering. It keeps us searching for answers.
We've gone over some incredible historical accounts, delved into those puzzling government investigations, and even explored how UFOs have invaded pop culture. It's been quite a journey.
And it's not over yet. The search for understanding continues.
On that note, we'll leave you with this. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and who knows, maybe one day we'll finally unlock the secret to the UFO phenomena. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of UFOs. Until next time, keep looking up.